Hello, my name is Siddharaj Bhatta, and today I'm going to discuss about how the consumer price index is calculated in reality. The consumer price index, this is the most widely used price index for measuring the consumer inflation in almost all of the economies. Uh, by its name, it is used for measuring the price movements of consumer goods and services only. So the prices of the intermediate inputs or the factors of productions are not captured by the consumer price index. It is different from wholesale price index and GDP deflator in terms of its coverage and in terms of its purpose. One important thing is that the consumer price index, though it is a very beautiful concept, it stands for the average price indices of the consumer goods and services in the economy. Its actual calculation remains a black box for the public because the actual procedure of calculation of CPI is not published by the calculation agencies. Another important thing is that the methodology for calculating CPI, its coverage and its purpose are often revised. So the authorities are often accused of manipulating the CPI statistics so as to produce the desirable results. In this context, Michael Sude notes that CPI statistics are one of the most damned lies. So while calculating CPI in practical life, one has to pass through the following stages. Step 1, determining the basket of goods and services to be included in CPI. Step 2, selection of price collection centers. Step 3, selection of outlets and price collection methods. And step 4 is the method of averaging the price indices. We go to step 1. In economy, thousands of goods and services are consumed by the consumers, but it's not practical, it is not feasible to record the prices of all those items. Thus, the first important thing in the calculation of CPI is what goods and services are to be selected as the representative goods and services. The representative items is called CPI basket, and such a basket is selected on the basis of consumer expenditure survey or household budget survey. This survey provides the expenditure share of households or the relative importance of goods and services in the consumer's budget. Generally, two criteria are used to select the goods and services in the CPI basket. The first one is the expenditure share of goods and services, and the second one is the frequency of purchase. For example, we have a simple economy. This economy where there are few goods and services, and the household expenditure survey shows that households spend almost half of their expenses on good F. 47.59% of the household expenditure goes to good F. The second most important good in consumers budget is good D. 23.8% of the consumer expenditure goes to this good. So this column, expenditure share column, shows the relative importance of goods and services in the consumer's budget. It shows that the goods Z and S are not so much important for consumers budget. Another criteria is the frequency of purchases of goods and services. This column shows how many times the goods and services are purchased during a period, for instance, a year. So, good B is typically purchased 25 times a year, whereas good Z is purchased only twice a year. So, according to these two criteria, In this hypothetical economy, we can determine a CPI basket by including those goods and services that have a high expenditure share and the frequency of purchase is high. The first good we select is good D good F because it has the highest expenditure share. Then we select good D, then we go over other goods. So how many goods should be selected? It depends on the budget and the representativeness of the goods and services. For example, in this case, if we select the goods A, B, D, E and F, it almost covers 98.5% of households' budget. Thus, it is representative of all the consumer goods in our case. So now we go to the case of Nepal. In Nepal, the CPI basket consists of 496 goods and services. Such a number has been selected on the basis of expenditure weights derived from the 5th Household Budget Survey. So this is an overview of the 496 goods and services included in Nepal's CPI. Out of 496 goods and services, 402 are goods and 94 are services. And in this slide, you can see the number of goods and services from different quake groups. There are 162 goods from food and non-alcoholic beverage, 14 goods from alcoholic beverages and tobacco, and so on. So now after fixing the CPI basket, the next step is the selection of price collection centers. So it's important because prices of consumer goods and services cannot be collected from every corner of the economy. So while selecting the price collection center, the most important criteria is the size of economic activities in those centers. We proxy that size by using the expenditure share of the centers. So what this implies is that the remote parts of the country where the size of the economic activity is very small, where only few goods and services are purchased, they are less likely to be selected as the price collection centers. So again, we move to our hypothetical economy. There are six centers from which we have to select. The total consumer expenditure of those centers are given in column B of this table, and the expenditure shares of those centers are given in column C. It seems that the most important centers for our purpose is center V, center I, and center II. So other criteria may also be used, for example, geographical representation, access of the CPI estimation agency staff, and the available human and other resources. In reality, there are too many market centers from where people buy goods and services. In such a case, where a representative number of the centers are selected as the price collection center. So in case of Nepal, there are altogether 60 price collection centers in the CPI. So out of 60, 29 are rural price collection center and 31 are from urban area. In terms of ecological belt, 5 price collection centers are from mountain region, 32 are from hills, and 23 are from Terai region. So the next important step is the selection of outlets and price collection methods. The outlets or shops should be of normal category where average people buy goods and services. I mean, they should not be large departmental stores where only the rich people buy. They should not be some street type of market where only poor people go. So the next criteria is that the selected shops or outlets who sell the goods and services included in the CPI basket. So after selecting the outlets, price collection mechanism is selected. Price collection mechanism means when to collect the price, how much prices of a single commodity are collected. So for example, prices of some goods or services can be collected on a weekly basis, a daily basis, or a monthly basis, or even on a quarterly basis. It all depends on the speed of change and degree of volatility in price of those goods and services. And another important thing is that for reducing biases, prices of the same good are collected from more than one outlet. In case of Nepal, we collect price on a weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis. Out of the 496 items included in the CPI basket, we collect the prices of 68 items weekly, 287 items quarterly, and 141 items monthly. The last important thing is how to aggregate the price indices of single commodity to reach the final CPI index. So while producing the final CPI index, there are multiple stages of aggregation depending on how many groups and subgroups we have and how many geographical divisions of the country we have for which the CPI are to be produced. Broadly, it can be divided into two stages. The first one is calculation of elementary indices, and the second one is upper level aggregation. Elementary indices can be calculated as simply the arithmetic or geometric average of the price indices. However, geometric average method called Jevons index is more preferable. Jevons index can be expressed as this formula. So this is simply the geometric average of price indices of individual commodities. Geometric index means if there are 5 commodities, there are 5 price indices. So this Jevons index is simply the geometric average of those 5 indices. So the upper level indices are calculated as the weighted average of the lower level indices by using either Laspeyres index formula or other formulas. The Laspeyres formula is given as this one. This is the weighted price indices where the weights are base year quantities, and this Laspeyres formula can be rewritten by this simple adjustment as this one. This is summation WIPI, where PI are the price indices and WI are the expenditure weights. So a better one is the weighted geometric Laspeyres index, which is expressed as the geometric weighted average of the price indices. So we can illustrate this process by a simple example. We again go to the hypothetical economy, where we have selected a CPI basket consisting of 5 goods. The goods are A, B, D, E, and F. The CPI basket, as earlier, has been selected on the basis of expenditure weights and frequency of purchase. Now we rescale the expenditure weights of those 5 commodities of the CPI basket. So the total weights is 98.52. We assume this to be 100 and rescale the weights for all the 5 goods. The second one is the selection of market centers. As before, we have selected market center first, market center second, and market center fifth, and we again rescale the weights of those market centers. Assuming the total weights 97 is 100, we rescale the weights of the three price collection centers. After fixing the CPI basket and after fixing the price collection center, we collect the price. So here is the price, collected price from price collection center 1. So we have 5 commodities and we have 3 shops: shop number 1, shop number 2, shop number 3, and we collect the price of commodity A from all the 3 shops. The price in first shop is 10, second in 12, and the price of the same good in third shop is 15. So similarly, in period 1, we again collect the prices from those shops of the commodities. And now we go to calculate elementary indices. So the elementary indices is simply the price in period 1 divided by price in period 0 into 100. Means 11 divided by 10 into 100 is 110. Again, 13 divided by 12 into 100 is 108.3. And 18 divided by 15 into 100 is 120. We calculate these indices for all the commodities and all the outlets. So this is the story of price collection center 1. Again, we do the same story for price collection center 2 and the same for price collection center 3. This gives us the elementary indices from all the price collection centers. So the elementary indices from 3 different outlets from center 1, from 3 different outlets from center 2, and from 3 different outlets from center 3. And this is done for all commodities. Now from elementary indices, the Jevons indices are calculated as the unweighted geometric mean. So this 112 is the geometric average of 110, 108, and 120. This 118 is the geometric average of 125, 120, and 110. Similarly, this 114.9 is the geometric average of 133.3, 113.6, and 100.0. In this way, we calculate the Jevons indices for all the commodities in all the price collection centers. Now we move to the next stage. This is called upper level aggregation. We have all these 3 Jevons indices for all the commodities, and now we introduce the expenditure weight of the centers. The expenditure weight of center 1 is 30%, center 2 is 20%, and center 3 is 40%. Now we average the Jevons indices for commodity A by taking the weighted geometric average of these 3 indices. So this 114.8 is the weighted geometric average of 112.7, 118.2, and 114.9, where these numbers on the rate are used as the weights. Likewise, we calculate the aggregated index for each of the commodity as the weighted geometric mean of the Jevons indices. Now we move to next stage. Now we introduce the weights, expenditure weights of the commodities. We have the aggregated indices, and we calculate the final CPI index as the weighted geometric mean of all these indices. If weighted geometric mean is used, we calculate geometric mean, while if we use the arithmetic mean, we calculate the weighted arithmetic mean of the indices. In this case, we have used the weighted geometric mean or geometric version of last pairs index. So this 118 is the weighted geometric mean of these indices where the weights are used. So after reaching this final CPI index, we can calculate the inflation, consumer inflation in the economy. The base year index is assumed to be 100. So if the index increases from 100 to 118.03, the CPI inflation is simply 18.03. So in reality, CPI includes too many goods than in our simple case. In this hypothetical economy, we have included only 5 goods and we have only 3 price collection centers. But in reality, there may be thousands of goods and hundreds of price collection centers. In such case, the calculation of CPI becomes very boring task, and that is made automatic by some software applications. So in case of Nepal, we use Jevons index for calculating elementary indices and last pairs geometric index for higher level aggregation. So this is the glimpse of the expenditure weights used by Nepal while calculating the CPI, and these are the indices of these groups. So this is the final index. This final index is the geometric mean, weighted geometric mean of these indices. So the geometric mean of these indices by using these expenditure shares gives us the final CPI index 118.39. However, we can use the arithmetic index, and the CPI index in this case does not deviate too much, but in other cases the results from weighted geometric index method and weighted arithmetic index method may diverge from each other. There are some important issues while calculating the CPI. The first one is some of the goods may disappear from the market temporarily, for example for 1 month. In that case, price of those goods cannot be collected and the CPI index calculation becomes problematic. So we should adjust some way for those cases. The next one is seasonal availability of goods. Some of the goods are available during some months of the year only, so we should treat those goods in a specific way. And the most problematic area is the case of quality and brand changes of the product. Often the product does not disappear from the market, but its quality changes continuously and its brand name may change. In such a case, the CPI basket have to be adjusted by proper substitution or by using some other way. Thank you very much for your patience, and visit my YouTube channel, and please don't forget to subscribe it.